What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show on Sherdog.com. And today I'm looking at the bets for the week in the world of mixed martial arts. There is actually a very good UFC Fight Night card. We don't hear that phrase uttered often, if we're being honest. And there are two good one championship cards as well. Oktagon also have a card. We'll have a quick look through that and see if there's anything. And I'm sure there's other promotions having cards as well this weekend. So a big week in the world of mixed martial arts as we come up to the holiday season here. There actually is loads of MMA over the Christmas period, but look, we'll deal with that when we come to it, I suppose. Looking back on last week, 2 bets out of the 4 correct, and the flyer didn't come on. That flyer, that was a bad flyer. I'll admit it, that was a bad flyer last week. The bets that didn't happen, I thought Julia Budd won that fight against Aspinall. Maybe I'm a little bit biased because I actually didn't bet it myself, to be honest, but I had the bet given. I had a couple of other bets that, it was a 50-50 week. And the Brendan Loughnane one as well, I gave Bubba Jenkins, based on the price. I said if you gave me a straight up bet, I'd go Loughnane. And I was right, but the bet was wrong, so that was definitely an L. But the other two won, Deja and Wilkinson. So 2 out of 4 with the flyer outside of that as well. Not a terrible week, but I wasn't that happy with it, to be honest. That Loughnane one was a big miss because he beat him so badly. I thought the price was wrong on one side. The price was actually probably wrong on the other side. So yeah, that was a bad bit miss by me, and I'm sure the savvy bettors and the savvy listeners here probably got it right where I got it wrong. So we'll get into this week anyway. Before we do that, please bet responsibly. Don't go mad. If you're listening to me and you messed up on Bubba Jenkins last week, you're probably happy you didn't go mad betting. So yeah, as I said, just take it handy, take it easy. Christmas is coming up. Save your money for that. Have a bet for fun, but don't overdo it. Right, let's get straight into it and go for the first bet of the week. And I'm going to start with my 2 one championship bets. And the first one, I was actually very surprised to see this price. You notice when there's one championship cards, the betting usually comes out a little bit later for one championship. And I was looking at this last night, and it kind of popped up. Literally, I was going to bed and I was looking at this price and I was like, is this correct? And you know what? It's actually changed again since this morning. So Reinier the Ritter against Anatoliy Malykhin. I'm going for Ritter for my first bet of the week, and he's plus 105 right now. Plus 105. Which to me, okay, like it makes sense in a way. He's gone up in weight. He is... he's fighting against a very good guy, a very good undefeated guy. He's undefeated as well, and it's going to be a massive test. My previous show will be out before this, if it's not already out. And I kind of went through it, how good Malykhin is, what way I think the Ritter will fight him, and all of that. And I think the Ritter's a kind of a bad style match for him. Now, maybe the one thing I missed out on was the size. But I also think the Ritter, he's a big guy. Like I was talking last week, so with one championship and the weight cutting as well, it's hard to know exactly where it lands. So, they have it down here in Sherdog as a 225 pound catch weight. So we can take that as reality. They're calling it light heavyweight, and I know Malykhin has fought up and down the weights previously, but the Ritter's fought up and down the weights previously. And I think Malykhin has fought at heavyweight and light heavyweight. So he's a bigger guy. But when you look at the matchup itself, right? So for the Ritter, he's a wrestler. If you've watched Reinier the Ritter, he's a wrestler. Doesn't really set up much, but he's very fast, and I think that's the kind of thing that in the preview that I spoke to. That his speed, I think, is a very, very tough thing for guys even at lower weights to deal with. What happened in his last fight, Big Dash almost got him in a guillotine, and that was the only one I've seen recently to give him any sort of defense or trouble when he's doing that. And the guillotine, he almost got him, but he ended up getting strangled. He's very good at giving space on the ground and being able to control guys. The one issue here is, will Malykhin be too big and too strong? That's an issue. Now, what he's very good at, he's a pressure striker, good overhand right, good jab. Very, very good hooks. He's just a very, very good striker, but he's used to fighting bigger men. And I think he's a good offensive wrestler, but his defensive wrestling, I don't know how good that is. You know, he's fast as well. He catches legs, but he looks fast against kind of heavyweights or bigger men like that. Whereas the Ritter can look fast when he is the bigger man fighting, you know, welterweights or middleweights or wherever it might be. I wonder will that difference in speed be a big factor here? Now, maybe the difference in strength and the difference in power will actually play a bigger factor, and maybe that's what the betting lines are thinking here. But I just think the Ritter, like, if he doesn't get that takedown, it's going to be a very, very tough night for him. But I think the way he's so dominating with his takedowns and so quick to get inside, I'll say it again, the word quick, so quick to get inside, I think Malykhin's going to have big trouble with that. Holding him down is going to be an issue. But we've seen the Ritter, he always finds a way. He finds a submission, or he finds a way of holding someone down. And if he can get past the size, or if the size isn't an issue, like if they go in there and they're both around a similar size, and like I don't think there will be a massive difference. Like the Ritter's very tall and stuff, but when I say size, I mean like, you know, heft maybe is the word to do it. Malykhin's definitely the heftier lad, whereas the Ritter, you know, taller and sizier, longer. If that space that he gives on the ground usually isn't evident or isn't a factor, where like sometimes you give someone space and they try to push off but the Ritter's too strong for them. If Malykhin is too strong in that area and can push the Ritter off and the Ritter can't stay on top of him and use his funky passing in wrestling, it could be big issues for him. But I just seen too much of the Ritter, or like being, you know, watch his last few fights, but gone back and watched, I don't know, his 16 fights, probably, you know, at least 6 or 7 of them anyway. I've never seen that. That's the strongest part of his game. So I'm expecting Malykhin to win this fight based on stopping the strongest part of the Ritter's game. Now, that's often a thing that does happen in mixed martial arts, so that's not out of the question by any means. But will it happen? Will it happen? And my call is I don't think so. My call is I don't think so. Like when I was looking at these betting lines, I was expecting the Ritter to be like a minus 200 or something like that. I thought he'd be a big favourite here, even though, you know, Malykhin is obviously very good and they're fighting, you know, he's fighting up a weight and everything like that. But no, I'm going for the Ritter. I think that plus 105 price is good enough. I think he'd be able to, you know, the speed as well. When I talk about speed, and I know I mentioned that word 5 times, it's breaking the distance between outside and inside with the wrestling very quickly. That's where the Ritter's speed really shows. And I think if he can show that speed against Malykhin, take him down, and if he can hold him down, I think he'll win the fight. So that plus 105 price for a guy who's 16-0 undefeated, one of the best fighters outside of the UFC, outside of the big North American organizations, and probably inside him too if he fought there. Like even if he was to lose this fight, I would still think that he's a very dominant, very good ground fighter. I think that's a great price. So plus 105 for Reinier, the Ritter there is absolutely fantastic. Right, the next bet I'm going for is also in one championship, and it's Janelle Olsim, who's fighting Meng, and she is minus 125 in this fight, and I really, really like that price. Now, Meng herself is minus 105, so she is just about the underdog. It's, you know, as I said, those prices just came out, so they probably will, you know, naturally fluctuate between now and when the card happens. But I was so impressed with Olsim, so impressed watching her fights. That someone as good as Meng, I think, and I said this in the previous show as well, someone as good as Meng needs someone like really, really good to beat her, because she is so well rounded and she can kind of do it all. You know, if you watch any of her fights, it's very evident to see that she's had 25 fights and she's won, you know, 19 of them, which is, you know, a very, very good record. But you know, recently she lost it to Tiffany Teo, and that's the fight I watched where Tiffany Teo is big, and I watched a few different fights, but she's big and she's tall and she's strong and she can do a lot. You know, she can fight in all different ways. And if you look at Meng, she is the type of fighter will fight you on the outside and jab on the outside and kick the leg on the outside for the whole fight if you allow her. And she will win a fight that way. She has no problem doing that. You know, we wonder by who we'll get to later on fighting this weekend as well. And he'll do this exact same thing. Like, if you don't come in, make a point of coming in, have a bit of bravery to come inside and fight Wonderboy inside, he's just going to pick you apart from the outside. Now, he might knock you out if you do that, but that's just the fact of the matter, I think. And Ming Bo is a bit like that as well. And people are very slow to actually come in and strike with her because she's dangerous, because she can pick you off, because she can hit, and she has she throws that right hand so hard. Very good defensively as well. So she's a hard fighter to fight against. The one part of the fight I see that will go for Olsim is, well, there's two parts of the fight I think will go for Olsim. I think she has a better jab, which is a weird thing to say against Ming Bo because she is such a good jab. And I think the wrestling will be in her favour because Ming Bo has good wrestling, good defensive wrestling, but up until a point, it was a Tiffany Teo fight, I'm pretty sure, where she stopped the wrestling, and then got taken down, and then continued to get either dominated on the ground or taken down again in the next round. You have to be very brave to do that, though, and very brave to beat her in that sort of way. Now, first of all, from the striking point of view, and this is a big point of why I'm picking Olsim, she throws really good high kicks from both feet from far on the outside. So usually in Ming Bo fights, I'll say it again, she beats people from the outside. I think Olsim is big and long and is very good at fighting from the outside as well. So I don't think Ming Bo will actually be able to do that to her as much as she's able to do it to other people. She keeps that right hand stuck in your face all the time, just throws it and throws it and throws it. And she has really lovely striking when it always looks for the takedown. I'm sorry, she keeps the jab in her face. When I said right hand, I was wrong. It keeps the jab in her face all the time. She's a very, very good jab. And I was, as I said, better jab. The right hand is her issue. Now, I know I had right hand here in my notes and I was like, yes, I need to remind this. I said this in the previous show as well, but I'll say it again because it's worth repeating here. It feels like, you watch a fight, you watch 10, 15 fights this weekend, 20 fights this weekend, and if someone is an orthodox fighter, they usually have a good right hand, right? Maybe other parts of the game are lacking. Maybe they're not the best wrestler, maybe not the best defensively, maybe not the best defensive wrestler, maybe not the best jiu-jitsu or whatever, or one or all of those things. But usually, someone... The worst fighters in the world have a good right hand, if you get me. Olsim is the opposite. She's good everywhere else, and her right hand is just, it lacks. It really does lack. She kind of falls over, and I don't know whether she's left-handed and fights as an orthodox fighter because she wants to use her jab, and it would make sense because her jab is so good. And I'm just after thinking of that, but that does make sense. But that's the one part of her game I feel is kind of lacking. But when she does kind of throw it, it's usually with the one to get the fight to the ground or the one to just leave it out there. She kind of falls across on it, and it actually kind of works to her benefit sometimes because she gets into the clinch, which is good for her because she's big and strong and likes to get the fight to the ground as well. So I think that's one issue, and if Ming Bo can kind of, wait for the right hand to come and counter off of that, I think it's a big thing for her. But I gave you two reasons there why I think Olsim will win the fight, the high kicks and the jab. But the main reason is she's way better attacking than she is defending. And the way to beat Ming Bo is to attack her, whether it's with strikes that you can land and try to be defensively good, which is an issue if she chose right hand, but I think she can do it with kicks, or when you're attacking and you wrestle her. And that's exactly what Olsim does on both counts. So I think Olsim will win the fight. I think at plus 105, I think it's a very, very good price. And minus 125. The Raiders plus 105. She's minus 125. I think it's a good price, and I think she'll get the job done. So yeah, I'm going for Janelle Olsim there to win that one against Ming Bo. Right. The next fighter I am going for, and the next fight I'm going for, is Marc Diakiese, and I'm going for him to win inside the distance at plus, let me just check here again, plus 240. So, Diakiese has kind of had a revolution recently, and he's fighting Michael Johnson, obviously, which is, some would say maybe a step up. Michael Johnson is has been a very, very good fighter down through the years. Diakiese in his last two fought Borishev and Damir Hanzovic. Before that, he had fought Rafael Alves, Rafael Fizayev, beat Landon Vanat and Joseph Duffy, and after losing to Nazar Hackbrass and Dan Hooker. So he's fought some very good, and he's had a very, he's not had a great time in the UFC, if we're being honest. I thought it'd be a lot better. He started off with 3 wins, then he had 3 losses, then 2 wins, then 2 losses, then 2 more wins. Like when Diakiese came in as someone, covering in this side of the world, seeing him coming up, a lot of people were shocked by his wrestling. I'd seen his wrestling 5 or 6 years ago, whenever a while. I knew he's a good wrestler. I knew he was a good striker and a dynamic striker. So when I saw him come to the UFC and kind of struggle and maybe not show his wrestling and just to kind of show his dynamic striking, and then kind of it fails a little bit and he doesn't go back to wrestling in fights, I was like, what's going on here? There was just something missing. And now he's gone back to his wrestling, really using the last 2 fights, and I think it's benefited him just by getting a couple of wins. Now, if he can add that dynamic striking and the very good, wrestling together, well, he's onto an absolute winner here. And Michael Johnson is a great fighter to show that against. Now, I've been a big fan of Michael Johnson down through the years. I think he's a very, very good fighter. Even in his losses, he always shows something. He always turns up dangerous. He always lands that left hand. And in a lot of his fights, he ends up either going to decision or losing or getting finished in like the second or maybe third round or something like that, while always kind of been in there. Now, in his last, 6 fights, he's only won 1, which is someone 36 years of age. It's high time you need to start winning a little bit more at a bigger rate than that to probably keep your job in the UFC, and that's unfortunate, but it's factual, I suppose, if we look at past being prologue. But to me, the key to this fight, and the reason I'm going for Diakiese to win inside the distance, and I love that price, I really, really love that price of plus 240, is that I think he can showcase a bit of everything in this fight. You look at Diakiese, you look at his record and those 5 losses, 2 submissions, 3 decisions. He's never been knocked out. I don't think he's one of those guys that'll go in there and strike with someone and take big strikes and be beaten in that fashion. Michael Johnson is a southpaw. He's a dangerous fighter. It's by all means he can hit him and he can knock him out. Michael Johnson can knock anyone out. We've seen that. He almost knocked out Khabib and loads more. Or was it Habib? Gaethje almost knocked out. And was it Habib as well? Let me just check that. Because, but anyway, we'll forget about that. I just think that if Diakiese can open up a bit, if Diakiese can do a bit of everything, it was Habib as well. Sorry, I'm just looking here. I'm distracted. I think he's really onto a winner here because, if you think about it, Michael Johnson, right? Michael Johnson will come out and he'll strike with you. I don't think Michael's going to be wrestling Diakiese straight away. He'll probably be expecting the wrestling from Diakiese, right? And we might get some wrestling from Diakiese. And if we do, I think he'll probably land some big ground and pound and he'll make it a tough night. And if that turns into 3 rounds of that, I would probably expect the finish there as well from Diakiese, if I'm being honest. But I have a feeling that Diakiese will kind of mix up the wrestling and the striking here. And if he does, and especially if he strikes like second, third round, I think he'll catch Johnson with a big shot and I think he'll get him out of there. Because a lot of the times Diakiese's got in there and he's fighting with lads maybe that'll push him against the cage and look to win a decision, or, it's a dog-eat-dog world. Like, these lads are looking to keep their jobs, if we're being honest. Whereas Michael Johnson has never really fought that way, has he? Like, everyone listening to this has seen Michael Johnson down through the years. Michael Johnson's a really fun fighter. Michael Johnson's a guy you'd want to watch it. If Michael Johnson's on the card, you want to watch it, win or lose. And that's, to me, that's a fact. And I would hope everyone would agree with me when I say that. And I think Diakiese might play into that a little bit. And I if he can keep it safe early where Johnson is most dangerous and open up a bit in the second round, which I see fighting out of American Top Team now as well. I think we've seen a bit of that from American Top Team fighters and from more fighters where they're, a lot of lads now are fighting to kind of survive the first round, win the second round, which is working a lot, honestly. And when I say survive is probably the wrong word there, but kind of get through or weather, whatever's coming in the first round and then win in the second round. I think if Diakiese can do that, I really think he can land big shots if the fight is on the feed, especially, and get Johnson out of there. So, like Diakiese, we go through the money line bets in a second and the prices, but Diakiese to win inside the distance at plus 240, I just think it's a great bet. I really, really do think it's a great bet, and yeah, that's my third bet for the week. My fourth bet for the week is a very similar bet, and it's Rafael dos Anjos to win inside the distance as well, and that is plus 175. And do you know what? There actually isn't much of a difference between this call and and the last one. So dos Anjos is fighting against Bryan Barberena. I think it's the co-main event of this card. And now you look at it and you say Bryan Barberena, he's only been KO'd or TKO'd twice in his career. I honestly think this is a really, really bad matchup at a really bad time in Bam Bam's career, because look, what did I say about Diakiese? He can wrestle with you, he can strike with you. And that's exactly what dos Anjos can do with Barberena. And I really think this is the type of fight as well where dos Anjos can kind of showcase all of that. Now, if he makes any mistake, if he gets tired, if he has issues in the fight, Barberena will still be there and will make it a big issue. But I think if it starts well for dos Anjos, and if it continues to go well for dos Anjos, I think it'll go very, very well for dos Anjos. I really, really do. We've seen the Matt Brown fight and other fights recently. Even that Robbie Lawler fight, which he ended up winning, if memory serves me correct. Like, dos Anjos had issues in that, and big issues. And I think against a guy like dos Anjos, who is, getting on a little bit now, he's 38 years of age, absolutely. But, he won 5 rounds in his last fight with Fiziev in a good fight, ended up obviously getting finished in the end of that. But won 5 rounds in his 2 previous fights as well, one against Money Moicano and the other against Paul Felder. That was obviously back a while ago, but it was only in March was the Moicano fight, and in July Fiziev as well. Like, he's still there. Like, he's still a very good fighter. And I'm not sure if Barberena can kind of hang with someone like that. And I think, one thing as well, like we talked about them being 5-round fights there. I think dos Anjos, if he can open up and fight some more 3-round pace, obviously this is a 3-round fight, I think that can benefit him. I think it can benefit him a lot. And look, we've seen dos Anjos down through the years. His ability to put a guy against the cage, land big shots off of it, or take guys down and land big shots in the ground is very, very good. And I think as well, a big part of this, which is kind of being missed, you look at the level of guys who've been fighting, right? Fiziev, Moicano, Felder, Chiesa, Leon Edwards, the champion, Kevin Lee, Usman, Covington, Lawler, Magny, for the last 5 years. And with no disrespect to Bryan Barberena, this is a step down from those, right? With I would say no exceptions. And whenever we see a kind of a step down in competition, it either goes very, very badly or it goes very, very well. And we don't see it that often in MMA anymore, because you get into the title picture and it's almost harder to get out of it. It is harder to get out of it and get into it. Look at the lightweight picture at the moment. Fucking Gaethje and Chandler and Poirier just seemed like a roundabout of who's number 2 and not getting a title fight for like 5 years. It's so annoying. But one example I always give, look what happened when Jose Aldo fought Jeremy Stevens, right? That's the example I give. Like, let's say John Jones came back and he fought Johnny Walker or someone like that. I think it'd be very, very tough. Now, well, maybe John Jones is a little bit different because he's been out so long, but you know what I mean. Let's say, Max Holloway comes back and he fights, number 9 in the featherweight division, whoever the fuck that is. Going to be a very, very tough time for them. And I think this is not exactly that, but I think this is one where the class will show. And I think Bryan Barberena, for as tough as he is, I think he's going to find it hard to hang with dos Anjos. And I think over 3 rounds, I think dos Anjos will put it on him, and I think he will win the fight inside the distance. Plus 175, I like that bet. Right. My flyer of the week, and it's not so much a flyer this week, but it's a good price. So it's Wonderboy to win by decision at plus 350. So all the UFC fights this week, all props. But I like all the props. Honestly, last week was all straight up bets. This week we've 3 props, 2 straight up bets. But I like this prop. Plus 350 for Wonderboy to win by decision is the flyer of the week. Now, I couldn't get over the price of this fight. And Wonderboy was one of my straight up bets when looking for a flyer, and I think this is the best one I could find. There was a few other ones out there as well, but this was the best one, I think. Wonderboy is plus 145 to win this fight straight up. I don't know. Now everyone knows. Look, he's right there behind me and the things. So I'm a bit biased. I'm a bit biased towards Wonderboy. And no, don't get me wrong. He's I'm a fan of all fighters, but I love Wonderboy's style, and he's the only one fighter I'd say I'm a fan of. But I will keep my professionalism here and try to look at it. And it was funny. I was talking to over in the Sphere Mate podcast this week with Graham, and I kind of let him talk about it before I started to talk, and he said exactly what I was thinking. I've talked to another couple of people as well about this fight, and I think a lot of people are in agreement here that Wonderboy will have to take a massive deterioration in his career to lose this fight. Because like Kevin Lee is a good fighter, and like at one stage I thought I was taking Kevin Lee to the moon. I thought Kevin Holland. I've Kevin Lee in the mind since the last one, Kevin Holland. Like I thought he could be a future champion. I thought he could be that good. He went in there against Jacare, had no problems and all that. But I just think since then, I don't know, he's made a bit of a resurgence and all that, but I think he's probably a little bit, judging by this line, he's massively overrated, I think. But I do think he's a little bit overrated. Like, how's he going to beat Wonderboy? Like, Kevin Holland's not a great wrestler, and great wrestlers before have struggled against Wonderboy. Like, Bilal Muhammad to me is a very, very, very good wrestler, and he's probably not a great wrestler in the sense of like a Colby or an Usman or anything like that. But I think the way he uses wrestling for MMA is really, really like George St. Pierre-like, and that's, I really rate Bilal. I think he's very good. And I wonder, is that Bilal fight a reason why Wonderboy is at a price like this? Like, I would actually suggest looking more at the Vicente Luque fight. Like, to me, Vicente Luque is just a better version of Kevin Holland, really. Maybe he's not as big or whatever, but I really think he is. I think he's a better version. And Wonderboy had an easy night against Vicente Luque. I know, okay, when was it? It was in 2019 now, so it's a while back. Wonderboy obviously lost to Bilal and lost to Burns, but both of them were both, by decision. A lot of wrestling in them as well. Is Kevin Holland going to do that? Now, maybe he will. Maybe Wonderboy's not the same fighter. And, it's almost a year since that Bilal fight. So, he's another year older. What age is he now? 39. Maybe it all will play into it. Maybe I'm absolutely wrong. But and as well, a big part of this, a massive part of this is Kevin Holland is the type of fighter who, not always, but can, and I would say usually, get stuck in someone else's rhythm. He gets drawn into someone else's fight, someone else's rhythm. Now, he's a lot of talent, so a lot of times he wins those fights. But against Wonderboy, like, let's say Wonderboy is as good as he was in his last 3 fights at any stage. Like, will Wonderboy, as I said with like Meng earlier, will he not just kick you from the outside, kick that leg, jab you up a little bit? Win the fight in that way. If Kevin Holland comes in, I thought I called him Kevin Lee and everything. If he comes in, land a big right hand or land a big kick or something like that. Like, I really, I see this as Wonderboy kind of running around on the outside, picking Kevin Holland off for 5 rounds. I do. And I think the reason I've gone for it for a decision as well is I actually don't think Kevin Holland will sprint inside with the chance of taking a big shot. He's like, to me, he's one of those fighters. He kind of, he's probably an anti-open scoring type of fighter where, like, he'd be shocked if he heard the score. Like, he could be 4 rounds down. Everyone watching knows he's 4 rounds down. The judges have him 4 rounds down. And Holland probably thinks he's 4 rounds up. He comes across to me as one of those fighters. And I think that's a bad way to be against Wonderboy. So Wonderboy decision, that's the bet. And that's the one I'm going for. Right, let's run through these cards quickly here. Let's start with there's an UFC card this weekend. There is the Oktagon card as well this weekend. I'm sure you'll hear a lot about that. I see Katerina Delidze is on this card as well. She's minus 180 fighting Monika Choklova at plus 150. I think that's a good bet there, minus 180. She's been on a good run recently, and she's a very, very good fighter. So interesting. Keep an eye on that card, and Oktagon have been doing good things over the last while. So very, very interested there. Let's look at one championship. Jar Brooks fighting for the strawweight title against Joshua Pacio. Pacio, the champion, is plus 300. Brooks is minus 400, and I think that's. Look, I think it's probably about right, to be honest. Pacio has a chance if he can keep it on the feet, but I think Brooks' wrestling is going to be tough for him there. Jehe Escucho, whose name I pronounced right on the previous show, but I probably destroyed it there, is fighting Young Hu. Plus 200 for who? I'd probably go for that. I think it's an evenly matched enough fight, and if you're betting the price, I would probably bet on that. Rug minus 350 is a very good price. I think a very good price against Zashor. Is Mizor Gamedov, who's plus 275. I watched him and he's not great, to be honest. Amir Ali Akbari is on minus 400. I think that's almost a guaranteed win against Brandon Vera, plus 300. Jeremy Pacio is minus 300 against plus 240 Tyle Tang. Meng Bo minus 105 against Janelle Olsim, as I said, plus minus 125. Daesung Park plus 300 against a minus 400 Lowen Tynanis, the greatest nickname in MMA, Tynanosaurus Rex. I think Tynanis will win that, but Park is a good fighter, and Tynanis has been off for a while, and if he can't get his wrestling going, it could be an issue, but yeah, I'll go for Tynanis. Then the Ritter, plus 105, minus 135 for Malykhin. Edson Marquez, minus 155, plus 125 for Feilang. I like Edward Feilang there. I watch Marquez, I'm not that impressed with him. Now, Feilang is getting on a bit, and maybe he's not the fighter he once was, but I don't know. I'd probably go Feilang in that one. Denise Zamboana against Lin He Quinn, plus 200 for Lin He Quinn. Zamboana minus 260. That was the one I said in the previous show. I'll wait for the betting to come out to look at it. I have a kind of a soft spot for Lin He Quinn. I really like her style. Plus 200. I don't know. Maybe go back and listen to my previews here, what I said there, and make a decision for yourself. And then Roberto Soldic, minus 170 against a plus 140 Ramazanov. I was very close to picking Soldic as one of my bets, and I do think he will win that. I think that's a great price. Obviously in the preview we broke it down an awful lot, so I leave that to there, but I like Soldic in that one. Ramazanov, very, very good fighter, but I think Soldic will win. Then in the UFC, let's run through from the bottom to the top. Estela Nunes is plus 240, minus 280 for Yamzin Jarogwe. Yeah, fair play there. Genaro Valdez, plus 160, minus 185. Nate Nevy. It's not weird, and maybe it's just me because I'm covering one championship, but I know the one championship names better than I know the UFC names. I never thought that'd be the case, but anyway, with a very good fight, Amanda Hebas versus Tracy Cortez, minus 110, a very straight up fight. I like Hebas in this one, honestly, although I really have enjoyed watching Tracy Cortez improve, and I think she is much improved, but Hebas, I like her at that price. Scott Holtzman and Clay Guida. Holtzman is the favourite there, minus 152, plus 132 for Guida. I'd probably go for Holtzman there. Darren Elkins, the damage against Jonathan Pierce. You can never rule out Darren Elkins. Let's see what price Darren Elkins is to win in the third round. Can we do that? Darren Elkins, third round win, plus 2500. Why didn't I give that as my flyer? If I'd seen that earlier, 25-1, let's do that. Anyway, Nico Price, minus 140, plus 120 for Philip Rowe. Marc Diakiese is minus 300, straight up in money line, plus 250 for Johnson. I like the inside the distance bet there. As I said, I gave that as one of my bets. Angela Hill, probably get robbed in a decision, she'll think, but it'll actually lose. Plus 105, minus 125 against Emily Ducoch, Eric Anders and Kyle Dawkins. Dawkins is the favourite, minus 225, plus 190 for Eric Anders. Anders hasn't been great lately. I'd probably go for Dawkins there, alright. A lot of people talking about this Schnell-Nicolau fight, minus 380, plus 315 for Schnell. You know, Nicolau is a very good fighter, but I think that's a bit wide. I like Schnell. Schnell can find ways to win. If Schnell turns up at his very best, Schnell is a very, very, very good fighter. Very good fighter. And I think that line is too much. You know, if you're giving me straight up money, I'd probably go for Nicolau. But you know what? I like that price. I like that price a lot. Then Barberena plus 420, man. minus 550 for Dos Anjos. I think that's about right. Jack Hermanson against Roman Dolidze. I love that fight. Minus 200 plus one for Hermanson, plus 170 for Dolidze. I'm not sure exactly where Hermanson is in his career at this stage. I'd probably take the plus 170 there. Maybe wrong. Pavlovich minus 225 plus 190 for Tuivasa. This is an interesting one because, you know, Pavlovich, he's a very good striker, obviously, as is Tuivasa, but has it, like, he's a bit of wrestling. I was talking to a couple of lads about it. They were telling me last night that, you know, people are talking about his Greco and he has good wrestling. Like, Pavlovich to win by submission is plus 2,500. That to me seems like a big bet. A big one there. So if you're going for another flyer, that is probably the one I would go for. And in the main event, Kevin Holland, the favourite, amazingly, minus 170, plus 145 for Thompson. You know, that's probably the bet of the week for me. Wonderboy plus 145. I gave him as the flyer, but I like that bet a lot. Maybe a bit biased, but I like that bet. Right, everyone. Recap the bets. Reinier the Ritter plus 105 over one championship. Janelle Olsim minus 125. Marc Diakiese to win inside the distance plus 240. Rafael to win inside the distance plus 175. And the flyer of the week, my guy, where is he? Up there. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson by decision plus 350. All right, everyone, I will leave it there. My name is Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.